where the lights shine bright. Vegas, in the clear desert night. Vegas, where they can make you a star. Vegas, at the NFR Extra is a weekly podcast that focuses on the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo and features icons that embody the rodeo and Western lifestyle. And now here are your hosts, Nevada Caldwell and Rockin' Robbie Hodges.
Episode 44 of NFR Extra, and we're keeping things going. Quarantine's still happening. A lot of news coming out. Things are changing a little bit, but kind of keep your head up and one day at a time. And well, just like we've done in the past, we've got some great guests here. And Robbie, this is a good friend of yours that we brought on the show. Who's this individual we brought on?
Man, I am so honored to get to interview this guy. This guy's been as much help as anybody to me in this business, and he's been a friend to every Contract Acts personnel in this business, rodeo. None other than Blue Jeans. A lot of people call him their boss or whatever, or just our rep. I call him my best friend in the world. We work a lot of rodeos together, and you're going to get to hear a good bit about, the stuff with Contract Acts, how it's progressing and the things that he's doing, and also you're going to hear a little bit about his history, and some of the bullfight stuff. You're really going to enjoy it. God, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, he's been around a little bit, right? And obviously,
yeah,
there's a lot of great information there. And I'm starting to learn your guys' world that you see guys like you, Romp, Luch, all these, everyone that we've had on the show that from the bullfighting side. Or the barrelman, you guys get to see so much of the rodeo that a lot of others just don't get to see from the ground up, and it's cool, man. That's a great interview. And then Brylan, good friend of yours, good friend of our business, and who's this young lady we bring on here?
We got to bring on Alyssa Leal, and their family has been nothing but wonderful for the Junior World Finals. The junior bulls that they bring in are great for these caliber of kids to learn on, and that's really the whole point of junior rodeo. So it's great to have them a part of our team. She gives us kind of a little detail about how they got into the business, which was a little shocking because it wasn't the normal of most our rodeo people.
Nope.
But it's a great listen. I hope you guys enjoyed as much as we did.
Yeah, and
I bet we will.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the fascinating part about mini bull riding, the word mini, just I don't know, I'd take it away, but it's bull riding. And what's fascinating is how involved they are with all the organizations of rodeo, even PBR. That's the part that they got their hands in a lot of bull. Anyway, enjoy this.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the most thing that makes me the most proud of this whole deal is the safety that they're teaching with these kids. I have a really good seat to some really bad stuff a lot of times sitting out there in that barrel. And I watch these kids, and it's getting them used to when they move up to the level of the pros, where we haven't always had that. And it's pretty interesting to hear her talk about all that and the developmental stuff. And these kids aren't scared of winning money now. I mean, it's been a big beneficiary to rodeo, and I think it's going to stay that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Well, hey, enjoy. And up next, Brylan Bentley's Rodeo News of the Week.
This is Brylan's Bull, the Rodeo News of the Week.
PRCA Stat of the Week. 19, the event record number of national finals qualifications for bareback rider Bruce Ford. 1974 through 91 and again in 1998. The 5-time world champion was inducted into Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in 1993 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. PRCA has created a digital rodeo tournament open for fan voting. In the tournament, the top 16 competitors in the 2020 PRCA ran world standings in each event: bareback riding, steer wrestling, team roping, saddle bronc riding, tie-down roping, barrel racing, and bull riding will be matched up in a head-to-head bracket, with competitors seated in their respective spots. Fans and competitors can begin voting daily at ProRodeo.com. The Cowboy Channel and the PRCA are working together to bring the fans the sports center of rodeo with the new television series called Pro Rodeo Tonight. It will begin airing on Saturday at 7 p.m.
Every December during the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, thousands of rodeo fans call Las Vegas home. Families and friends gather to strengthen bonds and celebrate our Western heritage. But we'll do it only when it's safe for you, our fans and contestants, because that's all that matters. We know you can't travel right now or be around others, but when it's time, we'll be ready. This is the NFR. This is Vegas.
Hi, I'm 8-time world champion bull rider Donnie Gay, and you're listening to NFR Extra.
Mr. Hodges, okay, so we haven't got to sit with one of your cronies in a few months, so
Yeah.
yeah, I know, you get a little excited. I get it too, man. It's just like when I hang out with my geeky guys that work in the multimedia production world. I love chatting with them. I can hang out with them all day. And this sounds like, this is a good relationship you have here, and this guy's got all kinds of perspectives of the rodeos. I'm looking forward to this conversation. But fans, we got...
You should be. This one's going to be fun. Man.
Absolutely. Fans, we got Blue Jeans, professional bullfighter, contract act director of PRCA, and 4-time bullfighter of the year. Welcome to the show, Blue Jeans.
How's it going, guys?
Man, great, Blue. I'm so glad to get to talk to you. Blue and I have people in Nevada that I see. We've done all these interviews and them guys have stories, but Blue Jeans is as close to my brother as anybody in this business. And I'm so excited today. And we're going to divvy off into some fun stuff, and you're going to get to see a side of a guy right here that's pretty cool. And then I also got to say, congratulations, Blue. Obviously, this year is a little bit strange, because of the way it's kind of turned out. But this is Blue's retirement year also. So congratulations on 25 years in the PRC. Do you get a bronze card or anything for that, or is it or gold? Or
Well,
platinum?
they give you a gold card, but I think your hair just gets platinum as the main thing.
Is that what exactly? So, Blue Jeans, I can't wait for this one.
So hey, let's get started on this. How did you? Well, first of all, tie this in together because I've read a little bit about you. First of all, the name Blue, which I love the interesting part of that because I got the name Nevada and we can go back and forth on that. And then how'd you get involved in this whole craziness of dodging bulls, and just that business, which is, you just don't wake up and say, well, I'm gonna be a bullfighter today and just kind of wing it and figure it out. How'd you get into this whole game and how the name Blue?
Well, my dad gave me that name with the last name Jeans. Obviously, he said they, called him every nickname in the world when he was young. And he decided to give me a nickname before everybody else did, and that's where Blue came from. But my dad was a PRCA rodeo announcer in the late 70s and all through the 80s. And I grew up going to rodeos, and if you remember, in the 80s was the high point of the Wrangler bullfights.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when that whole deal started. And, man, when I was a kid growing up, I got to watch Miles Hare, and I got to watch Rick Chapman and Jimmy Anderson and work at a lot of the rodeos my dad was working. And, man, I fell in love with the bullfighting deal, and went on. And it's a cool story. My dad was working the rodeo at Arcadia, Florida, which is a rodeo I just finished. The last rodeo we've had, because of this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And we were down there, and Rex Gunn, the Hall of Famer, he was clowning the rodeo and fighting bulls. And I went down there with my dad, and I helped him with his act. And I wanted to fight bulls so bad, I probably bugged Rex to death. I mean, I followed him around every minute, Well, after it was over, he told me, he said, look, you helped me with my act. He said, I'll let you come to my bullfighting school. Well, that was it, man. I was hooked. I wanted to go so bad. My dad didn't want me to because, I was honestly, I was too young to be fighting bulls. I was only 14 years old.
Wow.
And, but I went, and Rex took care of me. He controlled the situation and let me learn. And then, I went on and played sports in high school and did all that. But I had that fire in my belly to go fight bulls. So about midway through my senior year, after football was over, man, that's what I did, and I've been doing it for 25 years. Well, more than that, really. That was in 1994. So I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. And and as Robbie alluded to, so this was your retirement year, is that right?
Yeah, this is it. 25 years in the PRCA, and I decided at the end of last year that this would be my last year. I didn't know the coronavirus was going to interrupt everything the way it has, but man, I've worked some of these rodeos 20 years, great committees, and they've been so good to me. I mean, the Silver Spurs Rodeo gave me a Silver Spurs going away present, and then Arcadia gave me a belt buckle. And a lot of these rodeos have a lot of stuff planned for me. So, I mean, it's been cool.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, you know, the cool part, this is honestly, Lucian, whenever we get to talk to people on here and they've grown up in this, all I can hear is just like, man, this is all I've ever done is live this life. It's a little different than other people. You know, how is it that, and it looks like, just kind of reading, you come from a 3rd generation ranching family. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
How
my family had a ranch right outside of Houston, Texas, in a little town of Dayton. My grandpa bought some land and bought 7 cows in 1938, and that's what my family did for a living. That's how, I mean, and that's part of where the bullfighting, you know, came from. Growing up on a ranch, being around cattle. We had Brahman cattle, and you know, if you know them very much, they're pretty mean. And so it was kind of survival of the fittest. Fighting bulls, it was kind of an extension of that to me. You know, and then with my dad's rodeo background, I mean, it is. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's all I know. I mean, I've done it from day one. I don't know any different. That's great. You know, Blue, let's talk a little bit about, you know, several years ago, even before we met, I had grown up down in Florida. You know, I say grown up is in the rodeo business and stuff. And when you first came down there, do you remember us talking about it? And like when you were going to do Kissimmee and get those Silver Spurs bulls and stuff, you know, because Nevada's learned a lot, and I know we bring this up a lot about swamp bramers down there. Oh yeah.
Yep.
And and Blue's one of the guys that learned. Well, tell them about, you know, tell them what is the difference in fighting those and say a man's herd of bulls, or, you know, from anywhere else. What's the difference there? Well, especially in today's times, you know, there's a lot of people in the bucking bull business. They raise them from calves. They breed bucking bulls to cows, and they've got a program. Well, down there in Florida, they just pretty much gather everything that they can gather and shoot them with a dart and get them to town and start bucking and see what bucks and what doesn't. And some of these bulls will be, you know, they'll be 40 years old, and they've probably only seen a human twice in their life.
Oh my gosh.
And it's a whole different deal. And you know, the less you handle those animals and the less you have them in the pen and do things with them, the wilder they are. And there's Matt Baldwin, one of the great bullfighters of my era. You know, we always had a running joke that when you go to Florida, you know, you hit your spots and you hit it with authority because you don't have to worry about whether the bull's coming or not. I mean, that's what we always told each other. I mean, they were always going to tell me. Yeah, and you fight them different too, don't you? I mean, like you say, it's a totally different deal, but you always handle that so well. And I loved working, and I love working the barrel with you. You know, you were part of the Wrangler bullfights the last year before they changed hands and everything. Tell us a little bit about what that was like, you know, back then. And I say back then, it's 2000. That sounds like back then. But, back then, when you first got your card, back the way it was back then, your first year on your card, you had your permit year. And then your first full year of membership, you weren't allowed to be on the Wrangler Bullfight Tour. So I got my card in at the very end of 96. So all of 97, I was on my permit. All of 98, I couldn't go to the Wrangler Bullfights. And then 98, 99, I got to go to a few. And then in 2000, I went to some, and I went to the Harper Morgan Bullfights with the big spread. You know, the Ice Teas and Ice Pick and Swamp Thing and Hillbilly. And, I mean, there was just a load of those bulls that James Harper had that were famous. And they were big and scary and mean. Yeah, and I got to work with the great Rudy Burns and Lethal. Oh man, great barrel man, great. Oh my God, my hero. You know, Rudy's in my opinion. Now, understand, Robbie's my best friend, and I love him to death. But in my opinion, Rudy Burns is the greatest that ever was. I mean, I guarantee you, that guy not only was a great barrel man, but he knew bulls and he fought bulls when he was younger. So he would come in, and you know, you get in that locker room and you're nervous. You know, you're a rookie kid going to your first bullfight, and he'd walk in there and he'd slap you on the back and say, "Hey man, what bulls you draw?" And you could tell him what it was, and he'd tell you exactly how to fight him. I mean, I was my first bullfight at Jonesboro, Arkansas. We got to the last round, and we had the NFR bulls out that night, and I had a bull that went to the finals that year, big bull called Swamp Thing, and Rudy come in there and said, "All right, this is what you do, kid. You start him out, make all the rounds you can make. When he leaves you, he's gonna hit me and knock me to the calf rope and shoot." He said, when he does, you run up there and make some more rounds, and I'll be back. I mean, that was Rudy. I mean, he was the coolest cat ever. I mean, he knew how to fight them, and he knew how to tell you to do it, and he'd help you relax. You know, you get a lot of anxiety when you go to the bullfight, you know, because you're nervous, and it's very dangerous, you know, and Rudy he always had a way of breaking that anxiety. I mean, he'd make you laugh, get you having fun, and, you know, kind of get you refocused before you went and fought bulls.
You guys, I mean,
and it worked out.
Yeah, and I mean, what a mentality you got to have, because, you know, we've interviewed a lot of folks on here about rodeo and different aspects that they do, and clearly, you know, and even like steer wrestling and tie down, I mean, there's some sort of form of danger. There is, like, just you know, something can go wrong with the horse, or you come off wrong. There's a million things that can happen for every athlete involved in rodeo. What have you done over the years to keep your mind, like, just you personally, for Blue Jeans? Like, what's kind of like your preparation regimen that you do before every rodeo or through the whole season? Was there things that you do to keep your mind right and keep ready for everything?
Well, absolutely there is. The number one thing is I learned to fight bulls from the great Rex Dunn. And when Rex taught you how to fight bulls, he taught you the fundamentals. And he taught you how to trust your fundamentals. All right, so that's one part of keeping your mind right. The second part of keeping your mind right is having your butt in shape and being physically fit and knowing that you've got your legs under you and you can fight one as long as you need to fight one. That's the second thing I did. And the third thing is you know, trust in the Lord. You know, I believe I was the good Lord wanted me to fight bulls. I mean, put me in positions that he did. And you combine all those three things together, and that's kind of that's the mental game. You know, guys, when they come in and they're not in good shape, it starts affecting you mentally. When guys don't have good fundamentals, it's when they start having a hard time and bad things go to happen. Because when bad things go to happen fighting bulls, they hammer you. You know, they hit you hard and break something. You know, so if you don't have good fundamentals and then you start having adversity, and you can't go back to your fundamentals and fix it, then it just snowballs on you. And that's why you see a lot of turnover in bullfighting. You don't see a lot of guys that are, you know, able to do it as long as I was able to do it, because they, you know, and I credit that to Rex Dunn and the fundamentals I was taught early on.
Yeah.
That's good. Tell us some stuff about Rex. I mean, how was that? I would love in my day to ever get to work the barrel with that guy and be around. But how was he, like, on a confidence level and stuff? Obviously with you, but tell us about
it. Man, he was the coolest cat ever. He forgot so much about fighting bulls that most people will ever know. You know what I mean? You'd go to his school, and if you worked hard and you showed him you really wanted to fight bulls, you kind of become one of his guys. You know, and I was one of his guys back in those days, and I went to his bullfights, as many of them as I could go to, and that guy he could watch you fight bulls and know what you were having trouble with and what you were struggling with. And then he put you in a situation to teach you a lesson. And I don't know if that makes sense, but like if there was a certain kind of bull you were having trouble with, bulls that were, you know, that were slow and that bait up and that were smart. He put you on stuff like that to teach you a lesson, and then he'd talk you through it. But he could watch you fight bulls and see what you were having. You didn't have to go tell him. He'd sit there and watch you and see you having trouble with something, and then you'd notice he was putting you in certain situations, and then you'd go. And then after you got done with the situation, he'd come over and say, "Hey, did you see what happened there? You see what you did? You see what you should have done? Go back to your fundamentals." And I mean, that's that coaching that he gave. That, I mean, Frank Newsom does it, Cody Webster does it. Those guys put on schools, and you know they kind of came from that same tree of fighting bulls. But I think we're losing some of that. The bullfights are so popular, and so many people want to do it, but they're not slowing down and taking the time to learn the fundamentals, and it's gonna cost them in the long run.
Yeah,
because Rex was so good at that. I mean, I've never been around anybody that can read your body language and read what you were doing in the arena and work on it and fix it for you like that guy could.
That's a good coach, man, right there.
You bet. Well, you're the same way, Blue. I mean, I know, and I see the old Rex in you when you're telling. You know, is that what you like to do? I mean, is that with the young guys and stuff? You know,
I'd like to be a fraction as good at it as Rex was, but I try to do that. You know, I try to slow those boys down and show them the fundamentals. I mean, but to put it in football terms, I mean, Rex Dunn was the Bill Belichick. I mean, he could take anybody. I saw him take guys off the street, never been in front of a bull, never even been close to a bull, take them and make bullfighters out of them because of the fundamentals he taught. You know, and I mean, you know how Bill Belichick will take a bunch of guys you've never heard of, no number one draft picks, and he'll make a Super Bowl team out of them. And that was Rex. I mean, he could do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, and I think of your guys' business, I mean, it's needed because so the weird part I think about rodeo is that probably about 20, 30 plus years ago, a little bit of coaching for every angle of rodeo was there's some sort of coach, but it's what I think over the past like maybe 15 years, it looks like there's been like an explosion from all aspects of, and oddly enough, it's part business, right? You can make money into that. Right. But at the same time, I think that it's also, it's getting more exposure to where when you start having like city folks start getting involved and say, man, they just have that inclination to want to do something that's just a little bit dangerous, right? But they got to have some confidence doing it. This is starting to, I'd imagine over the next 10 years, if this keeps happening, you're going to get you get new people coming into the rodeo business that probably were never raised like you or Robbie. And
absolutely
taking advantage of this.
You're starting to see a large influx of it, and rodeo becoming more mainstream. And I credit people like you, everybody there at LVE, for giving the exposure and putting the money into this sport. It's helped it elevate and grow. And I mean, it's growing like I've never seen it grow in 25 years. I mean, it's really coming on, and it is so cool to see.
Gosh, I know. Do you remember the days when if you could watch the last round by Heston of the NFR, that was the coolest thing? Or if you heard a song that mentioned rodeo, you thought, well, man, I just mentioned my sport. And now there's 2 stations dang near dedicated to rodeo.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, y'all remember back when 8 Seconds came out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 8 seconds was the biggest boost to professional rodeo that ever was. I mean, the story of Lane Frost, I mean, rodeo just exploded, and all of a sudden there were rodeos that had most 15 guys entering in the bull ride, and all of a sudden after that movie came out, there was 55 guys entered, and the more we expose it and the more we let people see it, to me, I'm the biggest rodeo fan in the world. I mean, in case you hadn't picked up on that, I love it. I mean, from bullfighting to, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm obviously passionate about bullfighting, but I love every sport in rodeo and grew up doing it. And that's why, I mean, Robbie and I've talked. I mean, I've been starting to do some announcing as I transition out of the bullfighting. Because
very good.
I got to go. I love rodeo. Me and my wife watch it every night.
Yeah.
Western Sports Roundup and Cowboy Channel. I mean, we're tuned in every night.
Yeah, and it seems like just me being the guy, I've been around this 20 years, but more from like this, from a professional work standpoint, production, marketing, whatever you want to call it. It seems like right now this whole merge with PRCA and Cowboy Channel is something that's been destined to happen, right? Like that's its home. And, I know it'll
about time.
Yeah, but it's going to be,
it's about time, man.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be tough for people to get that channel, right? But in the process, we figure things out. We're smart humans. And it's just, it all gets in there because you get all the, I guess what I'm saying is you start to get all these people involved. You got a guy like Metters involved. I mean, what a great captain to be navigating a ship for, a lot of things. I'm pretty sure he's sitting there thinking like, man, he's got a checklist of things he's been wanting to get after, and working with Cowboy Channel, I think allows that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as long as Jeff's been doing it, that he can see what we needed to do and we went, I remember being a kid, and Robbie probably remembers this. I mean, you'd set your VCR and record so you could watch at 3:00 in the morning when the Mesquite Rodeo come on. So
Mesquite Rodeo again.
I mean, we just craved it, I mean, it would have been, and to see it finally hitting its own channel and getting the exposure that that we all think it deserves, man, it is awesome to watch.
Yeah. Hey, I want to go back to, you brought up 8 Seconds. What's interesting is we're coming up, it's been a year since Dylan from 90210 passed away. And I got to tell you, because I get to manage all of our social media, and man, we did a post, because we worked with him. So Luke actually worked with us on our 30th anniversary of the NFR and the documentaries and everything that we did. Got to know him, really good dude. But anyways, when he passed away last year and we posted the information about his death, I'm not kidding. It was probably one of the highest performing posts that we had all year in 2019, and we had a lot of crazy good posts, but what was interesting in the conversation is what they talked about him about, and saying that he was probably the first guy, from the city side of things, or an actor, or whatever however you want to tab him, that, had this crossover ability that people accepted him, even though he wasn't rodeo. I guess he came in a very humble route, to kind of do that Lane Frost portrayal, and they fell in love with him. And man, there was nothing but love about him on that day when we posted.
Well,
it was powerful.
And Nevada, I know you've talked to a lot of the guys that participated in that movie and helped and coached and did all that. And what made Luke Harry so cool, I mean, I've heard millions of stories like this, was that he got that respect because he earned it. He got on bull. He didn't come in and just stunt double the whole thing and pretend. I mean, he actually got on some bulls.
And it was a challenge for him to get to do that. Remember? That was so cool. I mean, he was like, no, I want to ride the insurance where we can't. And, and he's like, bull crap, I want to do it.
Yeah, and when he did that, it was instant. He instantly legitimized himself in the rodeo world. I mean, it was instant respect for him. And that's what started the love. And then, as time went on, I mean, you know all the things he did for rodeo and the Western Wishes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the guy just gave and gave and gave. And, I mean, what a cool dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Great guy. So what were you, Blue Jeans, what were you doing? This is kind of getting the gauge of everybody, where they've been. What were you doing when you got the news? Where were you? A lot of people were at Houston. Where were you when you got the news that things were shutting down and you got to start changing what you're doing right now? Where were you?
Well, I was fighting bulls in Arcadia, Florida. The rodeo in Arcadia was going on, and they let us know. We heard about Houston. I was actually between Fort Pierce and Arcadia when I heard the news and heard about Houston. And then, Arcadia, those guys down there, they're such a great rodeo committee. They didn't know what to do. They didn't want to shut the rodeo down, but at the same time, they didn't want to take the chance of getting anybody sick. And so there we were, and they basically, one of the committee men is a judge there in DeSoto County, and he made all the appropriate calls, and they said, look, as of right now, we're not shutting anything down. So they decided to have the rodeo, and we really thought that we were going to have a rodeo with nobody there. I mean, we were sitting there and just thinking, surely nobody's coming. Because, I mean, all the money had been spent, on advertising and concessions. And, I mean, so they were out for money. So they just said, all right, let's have it. Well, man, the first day about 3,500 people showed up.
Wow.
And then the second day, around 4,000 showed up. And then the Saturday performance, I think there were 6,800 there. And I mean, we were just amazed at how many people came. And you want to talk about, at the opening of a lot of rodeos, it's very patriotic, but buddy, you want to talk about the patriotism at that rodeo during the opening. I mean, it was something else. You had to be there. You know what I mean? I mean, you could tell they were scared, but at the same time, I mean, that's how much they love rodeo, especially in Arcadia, Florida. If you ever get a chance to go down there, you ought to go. It's an outstanding rodeo.
It is really good.
I want to get by the bulls. At some point, I want to go.
Those are swamp bramers. The barrel in Nevada.
Somebody's got to get a documentary about those things, man. That's all I know.
Swamp bramers. You got to be like Tiger Man, that new show.
Yeah, I'd highly suggest anybody listening to check that out. My goodness.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
I'm a binge watcher. Blue, you've been very lucky with, the guys you've worked with. You've been with Stace some, but you've been blessed to work with one of the greatest stock contractors and the coolest people in this business. Totally different drummer now.
Oh, yeah.
But, the 5-time stock contractor of the year, Jerry Nelson, and with Heath. Tell us a little bit about how that all got started. That Nevada, you'll like this. This is a good story. This is absolutely true, and I tell people this story all the time, but I met Jerry Nelson. I was working, there was an amateur stock contractor down here where I live named Johnny Acker. I mean, he was a Texas legend. I mean, he was like John Wayne in the amateur rodeo business. And I went with him to do a rodeo in Luling, Texas, and I'm just a kid fighting bulls. I think I was still in high school at the time, and it came time for the calf roping. Well, a lot of times they get the bullfighters to untie calves. All right. Well, back then, believe it or not, they didn't have. A lot of times there was only one bullfighter at the rodeo. They didn't have 2 or 3 like they do now. So I'm there fighting bulls by myself. Well, I go out there and I get ready to untie calves, and here comes this big old guy who's got a beard and he's got a gray shirt on, and it has a patch on one side that says Jerry, And on the patch on the other side says Maverick. Well, he looked like he worked at a gas station. I mean, he literally looked like a guy that pumps your gas, you know. So I didn't think anything about it. I get ready, and they rope the first calf. Well, in the calf roping, you rope the calf, and then there's a 6-second rule that you have to let the calf has to stay tied for 6 seconds. Well, Jerry, he didn't know it. So I'm not really paying attention. Well, this guy ropes the calf. Well, Jerry just takes off out there and goes to untying the calf. Well, the calf roper gets mad, starts cussing him and telling him how stupid he is. The judge is kind of mad because it messed up the run and we got to do a rerun. And Jerry has no idea what he did, you know. And well, this calf roper just being horrible to him. I kind of, he cussed him. So I kind of took up for him. I was like, hey man, leave him alone. He didn't know any better, you know. So we walked back over there and he said, man, what did I do? I said, you got to wait 6 seconds after they get back on the horse. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, so anyway, we get done with the rodeo. And I was needing a ride back home, and the lady, Johnny Ackles' wife, Kim, was the secretary, and there's a lady that was timing with her. That I mean, when I tell you these ladies were dressed to the nines, I mean they look like, you know, the way the ladies dress in Las Vegas. They look like $1 million. Jerry, he's back there covered in mud, wearing a shirt, looks like he works at a gas station. Well, so the rodeo gets over with, and we all get ready to leave, and Jerry's wife, I didn't know it at the time, but she told me, she said, hey, you can ride back with us. And I said, okay. So I get over there, and I'm waiting by the car, and Jerry walks up and gives her a kiss and says, see you at home. And I went, holy crap, those two are together? I mean, I was totally confused. And I didn't know. Well, then, you know, you fast forward about 12 months, and he built what was called the Double J Rodeo Palace here in Winnie, Texas. Built that big arena and started buying bucking bulls and got into the PBR. And within 3 or 4 years, he was taking 15, 16 head of bulls to the PBR finals and started taking bulls to the National Finals Rodeo. And I mean, I've been with him through the whole growth, you know. And I credit Jerry. I mean, if it wasn't for being in the right place at the right time, I mean, Jerry made my career, you know, because he was passionate and wanted to be the best. And man, we had some humble beginnings. But Frontier Rodeo, obviously, you know, now winning 5-time stock contract of the year, it's come a long way, baby.
It's a fun one to do.
Yeah, it's good to be attached to that too.
Oh, absolutely. Nevada, I've got to tell you my favorite since he's retiring this year, and I mean, this is an honor to Blue anyway, but I have to tell you the funniest story with me and Blue Jeans, and it's a wonder we're not in prison.
Oh, I know what you're fixing to say.
So we go to the PBR bar one night. Me and Luke Kaufman were playing there one night.
You're talking about Vegas, right? PBR Rock Bar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, PBR Rock Bar in Vegas, John Fine's joint. And so we're staying at the Hilton then. It was still the Hilton, right? But it wasn't the West.
I think it was still the Hilton back then.
All right. Well, you know, that is the shrine to Elvis in Vegas, okay? Yep. So it's about 3:30 in the morning, and we are propping each other up coming through them swingy doors, all right? So when we get in the lobby there, you've been in the lobby there many times, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't, there's a big statue of Elvis. Well, right next to that, when you come through the door, there was a 1974, I guess it was a Lincoln town car.
No, it was a Cadillac. It was a Cadillac.
Okay. Well, I guess it was. I wouldn't have remembered if it was a Volkswagen. So we go over there, and I said, holy cow, look, Blue, it's Elvis's car. Well, they've got it roped off, except for one little corner's not roped off. Well, Blue and I are staggering over there, and we go and we get inside of the little rope thing. The next thing we know, we're standing next to the car. And I looked at Blue, and Blue looks at me, and I said,
and it's unlocked.
See if it's unlocked.
Like an invitation.
Yeah. And we slump that door, and it comes open, both doors. And me and Blue are sitting in this car. And I said, Blue, look under the seat or on the visor. If the keys are in it, we're going down the strip in this thing, right?
One thing about that car I'll never forget, it smelled just like I thought 1974 smelled like.
But the best part of that was the horrific look on Jen's face, hoping, and Krista's, hoping to the good Lord that the keys weren't in that thing.
Oh, my wife was hot. She was not proud of us that night. He still talks about it to this day.
I know.
He thought we were going to jail.
If it would have cranked, we would have. But we'd have wanted on the hell of a story, wouldn't we?
Oh man, that's awesome.
No doubt.
Hey,
your career has been stellar. It's been amazing. You have the respect. You know, you have enough respect from the people that we elected you standing right there in front of you as our director. You know, that meeting that day, and I said, hey, we want Blue Jeans to be our director. Anybody opposed? Not one person. All in favor? Everybody in that room that day raised their hand for you. What was that like, and what's it like, you know, to have been, and still being?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, that meant a lot to me because, I mean, I've always tried to, and throughout the 25 years, is try to be the kind of guy that has, you know, that everybody respects. I've been a good guy. I've never been the guy that undercuts you for your rodeos or tried to, you know, pull anything dirty to, you know, I've always been trying to be a straight up guy that did things right. And when y'all elected me to do that day, I mean, at the time it was choked me up and it meant a lot to me. Now I want to kill y'all for some of the stuff I have to do.
Right.
Doing this job, but it's an honor because, you know, guys know that I'm going to do it right and I'm going to take care of them best I can. There's only certain amount of stuff I can do on certain things, but we work on them. You know, there's Dusty Tuckness and I actually are working right now on cleaning some things up with our approval process, and it's little things like that to make pro rodeo better. And if my little contribution helps make the whole sport better, then it's pretty cool to me. I mean, I'm glad to do it.
So,
Yeah.
hey, real quick, I want to know what is give us like your 2-minute elevator pitch of like what it consists of. Like, what are kind of what the duties you got to do throughout the year, or kind of how do you what do you do with this thing?
Well, basically what I do is I kind of oversee who gets approved to have a PRCA card as a barrelman or a bullfighter. And we have a certain criteria that you have to meet in order to be a professional or a PRCA bullfighter. So I oversee that process to make sure it's done correctly, that all the, you know, T's are crossed and I's are dotted, that they get the proper recommendations. And then after they get their card, there's a year of a permit year. And so they're kind of you're basically on probation for a year. And so I oversee that to make sure there's no problems, no issues, because, you know, in our opinion, you know, to be a PRCA bullfighter, that's the tip of the spear. And we want to try to have the best of the best in the PRCA. And so I kind of oversee that deal. And then there's issues that we run across from time to time as contract personnel. It may affect announcers or photographers or whatever, but we have an executive council that we all kind of deal with that stuff together. You know, to try to just work out the kinks and from a PRCA standpoint, have the best product, you know, basically on the field that we can.
Oh, that makes sense. Wait, and you know what, and listen to you talk, the passion that you have, rodeo business, that's needed, right? You don't need like an outsider protecting that kind of area. You need someone within the business that understands ins and outs.
There's a lot of little nuances, you know, corners that can be cut, things like that if you're not in the business, you wouldn't notice it. But guys that are in the business, we know it. You know, so there's a lot of little nuances to it that, you know, that kind of keeps you on your toes and makes you pay attention. But everything we do is in the vein of trying to make pro rodeo better, you know, from our little standpoint, you know.
Are you done with it? When you retire, does that mean you're done with that, or just the getting in the dirt side?
No, I don't think they're going to let me quit that.
I'll answer that one for you, Nevada. Hell no.
That's awesome.
You know, I asked him this when I decided, you know, when we all kind of got together, everybody's like, Robbie, you're Blue's best friend. We need you to talk to him. And I'm like, Blue is my best friend. I'd really like to keep him as my best friend. And that's how I prefaces that. Oh, I sound like Boyd right then, didn't I? Prefaces. But I said, Blue, I need you to do something for us. But I want me and you, no matter what you get into in this contract acts director, we're still going to be best friends, right? And he said, yeah. Well, about the third year, he's like, I ain't sure we're best friends anymore. How many phone calls a day do you get? I mean, not this time of year, but like on an average year where it's normal, how many calls a day do you get sitting in a crane or wherever you're doing? You know, it gets to be pretty much nonstop from September till after the NFR. And then it kind of becomes, you know, we have a monthly meeting, and every PRCA bullfighter, you know, whether they're coming in or they've got a question or whatever, they always call me, because that's kind of my job, is to direct everybody and tell everybody how the procedure works. It works this way, or you got to do this. And then we have situations where guys get fined, or they, you know, have a problem, and I try to help them through that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I get on average 1 to 2 calls a week, but from September till after the NFR, I might get 26 a day.
Because you know how it is when it gets NFR time and they're voting and you know they're selecting guys for the NFR. I mean, it gets pretty intense because everybody wants that job. I mean, it's the greatest rodeo in the world, and we want to send the greatest personnel to it. So it gets pretty intense.
That's awesome.
That's pretty well.
That makes sense though. I mean, you know, and the other thing, sometimes for us on the outside of this looking in, it just looks like it's just, oh man, everyone's still making the rodeo. You see the same names, but then you start to really look at the details, and that's not really true. You know, someone may made it 5 years ago, and they'll be lucky if they get in this year or last year or next year. And I mean, it's just. Yeah, I think from every aspect of getting to that NFR is so key to your rodeo career. As Bob Tomlin always says, it's life changing, right?
Absolutely. And then you look at, I mean, you take a look at the guys, the bullfighters that we've sent to the NFR now. To a layman, average person, you know, they see bullfighters out there protecting cowboys. They don't understand it. But from Robbie and I, from our standpoint, you look at what Cody Webster and Dusty Tuckness and Evan Allard and Nate Justice. Here in the last 5 or 6 years, the game has elevated another level. And those guys are taking cowboy protection, and they have maybe 10 years, let's put it like that, and add like Chuck Swisher in there, but they have elevated the game, and it's a different game than it was 15 years ago.
Yeah,
you got to be able to play. You got to play at a different level now than you just did 10 years ago. Not to say the guys that made it 10 years ago weren't good, but the game is elevated.
Absolutely.
And I mean, from a guy like me that's seen it since the mid '90s, I mean, it's a completely different game than it was then. But that just, to me, that goes to show that we're doing a good job and our product's getting better and better.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at the crowds that they got showing up for BFO. I mean, that just shows how far it's come to where, you know, in Vegas, that's a standalone event for us, and we look at that as a powerful event that is slowly but surely, you know, more people in the stands and enjoying it.
The bullfights have always been a spectacular event, and they went away. You know, it kind of ran its course through the 80s and the 90s, and it went away, and people crave it. I mean, to me, a guy that can go out there and go 40 seconds with a Mexican fight bull is the best athlete that you'll ever want to go watch, because you add in the athleticism, the adrenaline, the fear of getting killed, and man, people love it. It's done when you do it correctly and you market it correctly. To me, I mean, it's as good an event as you can have.
You know, the Sports Center does that.
Quite a few of them myself.
Yeah, you know, ESPN does that like sports science thing, and what they're showing, they brought a bullfighter. Man, I want to say it was Webster. I can't remember who it was, but they were just showing like, you know, again, when they show all the physics, right, to the athlete and what they're doing, and whatever the science experiment is, right? And they're showing like the difference of how compared to like a bull and the actual athlete, and kind of just showing all the athletic ability of twisting, turning, just all the velocity that takes place in the body for the bullfighter. And it was fascinating, just kind of showing that, to your point, the athleticism.
I don't know if you remember a few years ago, the PBR did a deal, and they brought Junior Say out. And Junior went on, and Frank Newsom and them, they had a clinic with him and taught him how to fight bulls. And I'll never forget, in that seminar, Frank, they were using a dummy, and Frank kept telling him, "Hey, you're telegraphing your moves a little bit." And he said, "Hey, man, I went to 13 Pro Bowls. I know about telegraphing moves. You know, I'm not." And Frank was like, "Okay," you know. And he got out there, and I don't know if you ever saw the video, and this spotted bull, you know, Junior Seau, as good an athlete as he was, he didn't know the science of it, and he got run over. You know, it's when you add adrenaline to what we do, at the adrenaline and the danger and the athleticism. I mean, there's no other sport like it.
Yeah,
and I'll put it up against anything.
It seems you know. So one of the things that I love on social media is Rodeo Rex. I don't know if you guys ever follow those guys on Instagram, but man, whenever they show the bullfighters, I'm like, no, move, no, you just know, like, it just ain't gonna go right. And I could only imagine the kind of the timing of that, knowing how fast things are. You guys are probably, you know, like we're, you know, on the rodeo athlete side, that on the competitor side, they're dealing with under like 8 seconds all the way down to 4 seconds. You guys are probably dealing with like 1 to 2 seconds of timing, right? Like to move and groove kind of thing.
Well, in the case of cowboy protection, yes, but when you get to that freestyle bullfight, like if you watch the BFO, I mean, those guys, that's 40 seconds of time.
Ooh.
Where one misstep, you make one little mistake, and those bulls, they punish you.
Yep.
It's not like you can blow the whistle and stop for a minute. I mean, when you make a mistake fighting bulls, they punish you and they hammer you, and then you're sore, and you just got the crap knocked out of you by a 1,200-pound fighting bull, and you got to go finish. With a big knot in your leg, or your ribs break, or whatever. You got to go finish.
Man.
And that's what separates the men from the boys. That's why the bullfights are the ultimate, the ultimate gladiator sport.
Well, man,
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's well, hey, you know what? Hey, I can't get over this. Every time we bring on one of Robbie's cronies, man, within your guys' field, we get some good conversations. And during our NFR, we actually, I learned a lot about bullfighting and kind of like the ins and outs, the lefts and the rights, the kind of the strategies, studying the bulls that you're going to be coming against. It's fascinating. I enjoy your guys' sport so much.
Me too. It was so
There's a lot of layers to it.
Remember, Smets was getting up, making moves and stuff. Like you're on the radio. You're not on.
Yeah, but what was nice is just his passion to teach and kind of show. One move is dangerous, the other one is successful. So it's fascinating, all the details that come in with this sport that just we find out through these conversations.
It's funny, I got to work with Rob towards the end of his career. And Rob can teach you all the stuff Rob did, but there's one thing you can't teach is the heart that guy had.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. There was no quit in that guy. None.
I could see it. You could sense it just talking to him.
Bull.
His energy, his battery, man, was full blast.
Oh, I'm telling you, and that's the way he was in the arena. And let me tell you something. The harder you hit him, the madder he got. And here we come. He just came back strong. That was Rob.
Well, hey, Blue Jeans, this is good, man. We got to roll this once again. This is a great experience here. I've learned quite a bit here. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Keep putting it out there, man. It's great.
Yeah.
We love talking to you, and I know, I want you to be safe, and as soon as we can get back on the road, we're going to be happy, and everything's going to be great, and you're going to get phone calls.
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, your phone will probably be ringing like crazy.
25 years. Yeah, 25 years you've done it, man, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm proud to call you my best friend.
Yeah, that's
Thanks,
awesome.
guys. I do appreciate it.
No worries, Will.
Buddy. Thank you.
Hey, well, thanks, Blue. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm world champion bull rider Sage Kimsey, and you're listening to NFR Extra.
To celebrate the 35th anniversary of the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas, LVE and PRCA present the top 35 most memorable moments.
Sports fans love a storybook ending, and NFR fans are no exception. Bull rider Cody Hancock has certainly enjoyed his share of Las Vegas magic. First in 2000, when he arrived in Las Vegas as the 15th ranked bull rider in the world. Hancock didn't waste any time getting to work. He won round 1 with a 93-point ride and claimed round 2 with a 90-point ride. He kept chipping away at the top-ranked bull riders in the world, and when he struck again for a win in round 7 and 92 more points, he stood on the brink of history. When round 10 came to a close, Hancock became the first roughstock cowboy to climb from 15th to 1st at the National Finals Rodeo and win a world championship.
This kid rides like a world champion.
Hancock was back in 2001, and while he came up just short in his quest for back-to-back world titles, he did make rodeo history again. Hancock got the best of Diamond G Rodeo's Mr. USA in the 10th and final round and shattered the NFR record with a 96-point bull ride. Nearly 2 decades later, Cody Hancock's 96-point ride still stands.
In 2020, more than 7,000 kids will compete for the coveted 750 spots at the Junior World Finals in Las Vegas, presented by Yeti. Each qualifier will go head-to-head for more than $500,000 and a championship buckle in the biggest rodeo youth event in the country. This could be the first stop on the road to a pro rodeo card and a gold buckle in Vegas. Find out how your son or daughter can earn the right to compete against the best at the Junior World Finals, presented by Yeti.
All right, Brylan Bentley, we're still sticking to your world. I mean, we think we got this for the next couple of weeks, right? In these episodes talking about Junior World Finals. I mean,
we do.
This is your back of the woods, right? Where you've been living and now you're loving.
I am. I'm definitely loving getting to be a part of all of this.
Well, I like
Junior
this
World
one.
Finals talk.
Well, and this guest or guests, if we had them all on at the same time, is fascinating to me because when I first came across this event, it blew my mind. I actually had a boy and I thought of him doing this and wow, probably not, but that's what makes it, I think, that more amazing is the young men that are in this. And well, anyways, let's talk about who we got coming on here. This is, we're sitting here with Alyssa Leal from Leal's Bull Riding Championship, who's a part of the Junior World Finals. Welcome to NFR Extra Podcast, Alyssa.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, welcome. So let's talk about Junior World Finals, bull riding that's a part of that. But let's talk, can you give us kind of the gist of what went down in 2019? Like how many contestants you had, what are the divisions that you have, your champions, the money you gave out? Are you able to give all that kind of for the people that are listening right now?
Yeah, so we ended up we take up to about 130, but towards the end we do have some injuries, and I think we ended up with about 120 contestants out there, and we have 4 age divisions. We do 10 and 11, 12 to 13, which are on miniature bulls. Then we have a 14 to 15, 16 to 18 that are on our bigger bulls. So last year we ended up paying out I believe it was like around $45,000, and that wasn't including our prizes. We had over $10,000 worth of prizes. We, gave a saddle, we gave buckles, spurs. They got a gear bag. So, and one of our kids actually ended up, the 10 and 11-year-old won the all-around champion there. So he ended up getting that trailer. So, we've had for the last 2 years an Australian kid. It wasn't the same one, but Australia has took home a world title. So in the end, our 16 to 18-year-old, Chris Villanueva, yes. That was his 3rd world champion that he got there at the junior, being out there at the Junior World Finals. So
wow. Let's
Chris,
talk about the bulls a little.
I heard about Chris quite a bit.
He's a great kid.
How many bulls actually do you guys as a whole bring to Las Vegas during the Junior World Finals?
So we do take about 120 head out there to, the kids are divided up between the days. So, but we do switch around. There's, I believe we have about 5 or 6 contractors. That's including us that, we just bring out so many each and just swap them around throughout the days. Contestants all have a fair chance at getting, the same draw and stuff, even though the kids are split up. But we, it's pretty great being able to work as a team. And so.
And being a contractor, how did your family get into bulls and mini bulls actually?
So funny thing is, we always tease about, women do start things, because my mother was getting her hair done and she was looking in a magazine and happened to come across that there was miniature Herefords. So we tease my dad all the time because this was about 2010. He had us looking up miniature cattle because they wanted to buy some land and thought it'd be cute to have some out there, and slowly started coming up on the internet that there was kids that actually rode miniature bulls. So they went to a couple of events, and my mom's like, well, I want to get some. And they decided they wanted to throw a big finals. And they happened to do that in 2011 in Ogden, Utah. And Chris Shivers, they invited out there. Once he seen it, he just jumped on board. And so they just slowly started collecting some miniature bulls. Then they got one bull came with like 20-something head of mini cows. So then she just kind of started her own little breeding. And my uncle is a contractor, and then we have another couple from New Mexico. So they, it's just between us, and we just slowly started. That's how we got involved, because we weren't a rodeo family. We didn't know anything, just happened to just watch what everybody did, and slowly was their first finals. They thought that was it. And then when Chris came on board, it was like, well, we really got to learn this, and we still are at it. So, and then in 2013, Bo Gardner took us out there to Vegas, and we just every year tried something to get it bigger. So,
oh, that is awesome, considering this is usually a generational of my grandpa. My, someone in the family did this. No, she was just shopping while getting her hair done.
She was, yes. We tell people that they have 6 daughters. We were just more into basketball or track. Our friends kind of did, 4-H and stuff, but yeah. Other than that, we did not mess with any cattle, anything like that. So learning it is a family thing. We all take turns. We'll, if we got to help take bulls, we'll take them and feed them, do whatever. It's a family thing.
What are some names? You got any names on these bulls? What's you got to get names, right?
They have the best names, actually.
So we have a lot. We have, a bull named Casper. He has a son that's named Boo. We had a bull named Monkey Trouble. His roommate or little pen mate was named Curious George. And so we kind of look at them. We have a King Kong, Mighty Joe. And now we just named one of King Kong's kids, Rampage. And so we kind of go after... we have, kid movie names or something. We do have people laugh because we have a Power Stroke F-150 and it goes all the way to 550.
That is awesome.
That's what they drive. So they're all white-faced bulls, so it's just kind of, we look at them and we'll be like, you know what, we're going to name you this, we do have a little, he reminds us of a Dalmatian, so he got the name Corella.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's good.
Everybody will ask, what does she do? And I'm like, it is a bull, but but I'm like, he probably looks at us like, why did you give me that name? But so we have all different ones. So just really kid movies we go after and name them. My dad always tells us we need to give them names that are more manly, and we're like, no, they're our babies.
Like Bushwhacker.
Right.
Well, Chicken on a Chain really isn't manly, but man, that bull was nasty.
I was going to say, he was a pretty wild one.
Yes.
All right. Jumping back to Junior World Finals a little, how many qualifiers do you and your group have throughout the year?
So we have 6 or 7 regions out there. So they all put on minimum of 6 events. And then their year-end standings, the top 4 in each one get to qualify out there. This year we did move it to the top 3 because we did something different. We added about 7 nationals is what we're kind of calling those, but they will qualify over a weekend. They won't have to join any region if they don't want to. They just, I believe like Days of 47, if I'm not mistaken, is one. We have just to get these kids, they like to go to those ones that, try to win first place and they automatically get their card to Vegas. So this is the first year. We've been asked to do it a couple of times and we just weren't ready for it yet, but we were like, we're doing it this year and have had a lot of interest. So we have about, I think, like 7 of those that we are doing.
That's awesome. Actually, it gives the kids a little different approach if they can't make all of the other rodeos or, things of that nature, especially with the opportunity to rodeo a lot as a junior contestant now gives them the chance. If they can only make one, there is that option.
Yes. And so that, and then if they don't, they automatically can go and pick a region that they want to join, and continue to try at getting them a spot out there.
So how do you work with, because the cool part about for you guys is you guys can go on both sides of the fence, right? You can go mess with PRCA, WCRA, PBR. I mean, it's pretty wide open for you guys. Do you utilize all those organizations, connect to them, or is there some sort of connection with all of them?
Well, we don't, since we run that other organization with the miniature bull riding, which is only, for up to 13, we go to PBR, so we kind of do that. But the neat thing is we do take our world champions from that event. They qualify out there to Vegas. So we have talked to some, we're in the process. There is a guy that is, I believe, a PBR contractor. And so he was like, can I do this? And I was like, we don't see no problem. That was the great thing is PBR was willing to always be open to us doing this other organization. And that was kind of the same way with Bo. And so gives us more events to be able to put on.
Yeah, I mean, but not only that, you get that exposure. I mean, you being attached to both events is fantastic.
Yes, it was. Yes, because if they don't, the neat thing is, though, I get a lot of phone calls and people are always asking me just about the little mini bulls. And then when they hear, oh, you get up to 18, they're like, tell me more about that one. And so it's kind of opened up ways for both of them that it's just amazing. And we tell them, like, when they finish with us in this one, they can always go on to this one too. And so it is pretty neat just being able, we always, regardless where we're at, we're always advertising both of them.
Well, and on the standpoint as a sister to a competitor of a bull rider, it's kind of a different sport. You get on the minis and then your group allows them to get on the medium bull, I guess you would say, instead of going from these mini bulls or the calves to a full-grown bull. And it's a lot of power when they step up into those big...
That's a big step.
The big kid world.
The kids do tell us that. And there's kids that I've seen that were riding big bulls, and then they would try to also ride the mini bulls, and they were like, I can't cover one of them. And I'm like, you're used to the big ones already. So that is one thing when they started this, Chris Shivers and my parents, they talked about, we know it's a dangerous sport. You're going to have injuries, but let's try to keep this the safest way that we can. And we've been very lucky, like Cody Custer has, he leases out his bulls to one of our contractors. So when they go out there to the Junior World Finals, a lot of people might be like, well, that bull didn't do too much, but it's still, these kids are learning. And we don't want to put, of course, a 14-year-old just ride on a bull. We'd put an 18-year-old on. So that's the great thing. And about, having the age divisions, and they slowly just make their way up to one day, going PRCA or PBR, whichever way they decide to go.
Absolutely. It allows them to train safely and learn the basics without being a little too much.
And having the Chris Shivers, I mean, that's a great name, and I remember this is when I used to work at Thomas Maxson. I remember the PBR World Finals were there, and I remember him winning those, but he also set like the bar. He started winning all that money. Like, he started setting the tone for a lot of young guys. I think coming out of that first generation that started PBR, he was that second wave. And if you look ever since then, man, nothing but good looking, young, polished dudes that are riding bulls that look like they shouldn't be, but they are. Chris is that. And as I saw it at the General Finals, well, even for the past few years, even when it was Junior 4 or even when it was with the mini bull riding, always good dudes, little good young guys, man, they're very dangerous sport,
They're fun.
It is. We always tell them, we always brag about our kids. That's one thing that a lot of these kids we don't see until we get out there because they are through the regions. And but we are very lucky with some very good kids to the manners they have, and just we really don't have any trouble because it's just, I mean, our group is really, really good. And so it's kind of nice seeing that, you know, like how you were talking about Chris Villanueva, great little gentlemen. They, you know, just don't have trouble with any of them. They know the rules and they stick with it and everything. So
now I saw a young guy, and this is just me being an old PBR fan, but is the Crimber kid? He's not related to. That's not.
John Crimber is Paulo Crimber.
Okay, I wanted to confirm that.
Yeah.
I was.
A lot of people know Paulo as the dancing Brazilian guy. I believe is that.
Yes.
Yeah. So John, he's a great kid. He's just like his dad. Dances like him. He said he, of course, doesn't move as good as his dad did back then. But, John just he started with us in our miniature bull riding in 2015, and he competed every year. He finally just won in November out at the PBR World Finals. He won a senior world championship. Nice. And so he got his wild card automatically qualified right there to the junior world finals. Came in. He was leading it up until the short go, and it was like 7 point something, and they caught him for a touch. He flopped the bull, and so he almost had a junior world finals championship there for the 12 to 13, but he is competing now since he outaged us in that one. Now he's riding in this other one for us, and that kid can ride. I've always told Paulo from day one, not coming from the sport, I've learned throughout the years. I'll watch a lot of the kids, and I've just told Paulo, I don't know what to tell you, but you better be ready, because that kid, he is going to ride some bulls when he gets older. So if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you, but he's going to be a world champion, I see, one day. Somewhere besides just in his young career, but when he gets over 18.
So I bring that up because Jack Nallen, who writes for us, he's our blogger for the Junior World Finals. He's actually been working with us past few years when it was Junior NFR, and you guys have met Jack.
Yes,
yeah, he kept out. Well, first of all, he touted Villanueva all week long. He's like, man, this guy, just it's his. And then Crimber. It was cool as our conversation because both Jack and I are very similar age. Remember Paulo just jumping, dancing, just all that stuff. And to think that, man, now you got a kid and he's good, like that rarely happens. Rarely does the apple fall far from the tree where the talent falls down and the kid is just as good. I mean, it rodeo a little bit, but I mean, I like that. That's awesome. And
Paulo was really heartbroken when he had to retire. And he always told us he didn't really want John. But now that John's gotten older and the more he sees John, he's like, I know. It's a way that Paulo said my dream continues on also, because he's there to support him. I don't know if you've ever watched Paulo before, but when he's yelling at John in Portuguese, it sounds like he's really screaming. And John said, no, he's telling me the whole time I block out everybody but my dad, and he's telling me everything I need to do. But Paulo says it in Portuguese. and so I'm like, well, I thought he was yelling at you for something else. And he's like, no, that's how I do so well. He goes, is by listening to my dad. And Paulo's not just only there helping John, he will help any kid that's out there. If they go up and ask, he's going to be there. I mean, it's a competitive sport, but he's also a parent and a rider that he wants the other kids to learn just the same way.
I might need Paulo's help with my boy. That's awesome because my son doesn't listen to me when I'm yelling at him when he's performing his sports.
He'll hear the Portuguese, but I don't know that he'll understand it.
He'll just know that he's supposed to be doing something right.
Something else.
We brought John in, since he can't ride for us in our other organization. We brought him in to flank our bulls, and nice. Paulo has taught him how to really flank. So it's pretty neat having. John and them are really close to our family. Paulo's always said my parents are like his American family, his American parents for him. So we've known them for years.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I got a question. This is more of like it's kind of how bull riding, just me being a part of PBR for quite a while and obviously working with the NFR and just being a part of Rodeo. Does your family work a lot with South America because there's a ton of bull riders coming down from the southern hemisphere, right? And do you guys find yourself over there? Do you work any of that stuff out?
It's honestly the way was when they first started their first finals, they happened to meet Paulo, and Rob's actually they talked with Robson, and then they met Paulo. So it just slowly, being with the PBR, you slowly met all the Brazilians because the Brazilians really stick together as a family. And so we've met a lot of their kids, and now like their kids slowly, some will end up joining and riding for us. We always say the ones that don't want their kids to ride, their kids want to ride. And then the ones that are like, yeah, I want my kid to ride, and their kids are like, oh no, I'm scared. So we really haven't got, since Paulo came really back to the U.S., we didn't get to work. I think if he would have probably been over there in Brazil, we might have, but we just don't have a lot of contact. It's just a lot of the families that live here that we really have worked more with. But other than that, we just don't. We just really, Australia is our only one that we deal more with.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine the Leal family is going to be pretty busy over the next few years because this sport ain't slowing down, and you being the youth component of it, it's only going to grow, and you're a part. It's like a whip, right? Like wherever PBR goes, wherever PRCA goes, wherever all these groups, and they whip and they move and they groove. You're on the end of that, and that's some cool stuff.
It is. It's pretty awesome that, like I said, this was just a hobby they started with, and they never thought this would, go anywhere. And then 2012, they're at PBR. 2013, Bo brings us into the NFR, and we're just, they don't have no boys. They do have 3 grandsons. None of them are interested in bull riding.
Nice.
So,
well, darn.
Yes. And I do have a niece that does like barrel racing. I think she's more just likes watching it. I don't know if she'll end up doing it when she gets older, but this was just something we never imagined, and here we're like, we better get ready because she loves animals. We love the kids. Gives these kids an opportunity, and it seems like it grows every year.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, I don't see why not. Well,
awesome.
All right, so how is this 2020 looking for you? What are you changing anything? What are you doing going into December? More contestants? Can you kind of give the people listening kind of what you plan on doing this year?
We are. We did get in. Right now we have 11,000 added again, and
wow.
We are. We just added those weekend qualifiers that we had planned this year. For our world champions, we are looking at some more awards to give out to them besides what we gave. Most of those kids look forward to those saddles, and of course, we'll be having those again. Just kind of the same things. We were excited right now, just starting out at 11,000 added. Plus, we hope to get some more added money for them this year.
Where is there anywhere we could send the fans if they want to look at, obviously they can come to us, NFRexperience.com. We have a lot of information obviously about Junior World Finals, but is there anywhere else they can go out and look for you guys in case they need to get a hold of you, or, there's a parent listening and know their kid loves this? And
Leal's JuniorBullRiding.com is our website. Leal's Junior Bull Riding Championship is our Facebook page. We we're on there. You can message us. That is linked to all our regions. So most of the time, if you message, it's wherever you're from, that region's going to get in contact with you, or we'll send you the right way. Also, like through the Junior World Finals website, information is on there. My number, of course, is on there, and that's who most people come to me, and then I send them right to the way they need to go to make sure that they have a chance.
It's perfect.
Awesome.
Well, Alyssa, this has been awesome. I you guys are busy. That's what it sounds like.
Yes, we do try to stay, and like we said, we want to do this for the kids. Keep this rolling. Bo's been putting this out there since 2013, so we want to keep making sure it gets bigger and bigger every year, just like they LV always plans. So
yeah, well, you guys got a great family. Got to meet you. Y'all came into the office one day. I was like, oh, we're dealing with a family here. So it was cool. Like, I love that.
They're the best to work with. That's for sure.
And it just this whole conversation kind of.
We always say we're out there to put on a great show for these kids, and we will always work with whatever way we need to do. We'll be sure to do it. So
well, be safe out on the road. Thanks for coming on the show. This was great.
We appreciate it.
Thank y'all so much.
All right, bye, Alyssa.
Bye.
Bye.
Howdy, I'm Bob Tallman, and this is NFR Extra.
That's it for episode 44. Want to give a big thanks to Robert Blue Jeans and Alyssa Leal from Leal's Junior Bull Riding Championship. And coming up on episode 45, 3-time Wrangler NFR qualifier, saddle bronc rider Brody Kress, and Lacey Demers from Junior Roughstock World Finals.
For more information regarding the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, visit NFRExperience.com and follow Las Vegas NFR on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube.
NFR Extra.
All dirt.
All rodeo.
All year.
Gotta make it out to Vegas, where the big boys roam, with the rovers and the racers and the bulls and the broncs, and the ladies in the skin-tight wranglers and the cowboy hats.